Guys, moving on to an 11:45 matchup. We just got done talking about an 11 o'clock matchup with LSU and Vandy. But now we're going to talk 11:45. And before we do, be sure to subscribe, like the video. I think 98% of our viewers are not subscribed. So if that's you, go ahead and click that button down below. That helps us out a ton as we post videos every single week, sometimes 6 or 7 to 10 of them. But the 11:45 matchup is Oklahoma, who just got drummed in the Red River Shootout, on the road in Columbia, South Carolina, to play a team that is coming off a loss as well at LSU, a 20-10 loss. It looks like as of right now, Oklahoma comes in as a 4.5-point favorite with only a 54% chance to win, according to ESPN.
Yeah, this is a tough spot if you're Oklahoma. You're coming off an emotional, tough loss to Texas, and now you got to go on the road to Columbia, South Carolina, which is it's a snake pit. Like it's not an easy play. I catch a lot of flack on this channel. I have it as a top 5 venue in the SEC. I know they don't have the glitz and glam of some of the bigger programs in the conference, but there's something about going on the road to Williams-Brice that's just scary in a way that the other mid-tier SEC teams don't have. Um, that being said, I don't like the North Sellers in this South Carolina offense matching up against Oklahoma's defense at all. Oklahoma's defense was not the problem in the Texas game. They gave up the one drive to Texas's offense that led to a touchdown. They gave up 2 field goals. That's fine. You gave up 13, or no, I guess they gave up 16 points total defensively. That's not a bad defensive. That's the worst defensive performance they've had all year, and that's still not a bad defensive performance. And then, of course, there's the big punt return touchdown that there was a block in the back that wasn't called, but that is what it is. Oklahoma's offense, however, I think they'll perform better against South Carolina, even though it's a road game. South Carolina does not have Texas's defense. Texas's defense has not been the problem all year. They got surprised a little bit by Florida, I think, because Florida hadn't shown a willingness to run the ball with the running back, and then all of a sudden they pulled that out of their hat for the Texas game, and I think it caught Texas off guard. Nothing Oklahoma did was out of the norm for their offense, and so Texas locked down. South Carolina doesn't have that kind of defense. They gave up 30-something points to Vandy. They gave up 20 to LSU. A struggling LSU scored heavily on them. I like Oklahoma to bounce back in this spot against South Carolina. I just think this is going to be, we talked in the preseason, everyone was projected to do so good in SEC. And everyone nailed that Arkansas was going to struggle, but everyone else was being projected to overperform. And I got on here and I said that my 2 that I had circled as like, okay, these guys aren't just going to naturally improve with South Carolina and LSU. I actually gave Florida some credit, which I guess I shouldn't have done. But South Carolina and LSU was 2 of them that people were really inflating that I just didn't buy into. I think South Carolina drops this game to Oklahoma.
This is a very tough matchup and a very hard one to predict because recency bias is real, and when you look at recency bias with Oklahoma, you see a struggling John Mateer. You see a hurting John Mateer. You see an offense that doesn't look like they know what they're doing. Um, and that kind of concerns me. How much better can he get in a week? Um, I think the original timeline was he was supposed to sit out the Texas game and the South Carolina game. So all of a sudden you take 2 weeks less to recover and you throw in 2 hard-nosed SEC games in there. That does not favor Oklahoma very well. But when you look at South Carolina, I agree. Like I thought they peaked last year. However, I thought that they would at least be kind of another 9-3 season. Some people were saying like 10-2, potentially 11-1. I never thought that would be the case. But I thought that 9-3 would be pretty attainable. But you lose that game to Vandy, you can't lose that game. If you're going to go 9-3 and make a playoff push, you cannot lose that game. Go ask Alabama. You just can't lose to Vandy, and they did this year. A 20-10 loss at LSU and what should have been a revenge game to me from what happened last year. I thought that South Carolina would come in and play a little bit harder than they did, but they just don't have the personnel this year. They just don't, and that's what's sad about it.
Road loss at Missouri too. That wasn't
Yeah.
as close as the score would indicate.
Yeah. So I'm gonna follow you here and go with Oklahoma to win. However, this is going to be now. I said it I think 2 weeks ago on the Florida Texas game. This is the one I'm circling that has upset potential. I don't have it in me to pick it as an upset, but this is the one that has upset potential simply because the status of John Mateer is unknown as far as the actual status. I don't care what they say, right? Like he was bleeding through his glove. Like something is not right. He came back too early. So they got to figure that out. And I think they would have done better against Texas if they just would have let the backup play to begin with.
I agree. 3 turnovers is going to kill you in a defensive heavy game.
Yeah. Yeah, and they could have game planned all week just like they did the week before with the backup quarterback. You have your entire playbook. You don't have to limit it when you have a guy that's injured. So, tough situation there. Plus, when you get to the end of the year, you start talking about college football playoffs. There is something said now for, you lose a game against your rival and your starting quarterback was injured. And now he's back playing better at the end of the year. There's something to be said for that, but they let him play, so that excuse is no longer there. So don't know if that's going to come back to bite him in the butt, but I'm with you here with Oklahoma.